Your mind will try to control you. Your emotions will try to pull you. And your reactions will try to embarrass you. But today you take your power back. Today, you learn the psychology of emotional control. You learn how to stay calm when your mind is loud, when your fear is strong, and when your thoughts are moving faster than your logic. This is not a book. This is training. This is discipline. This is the moment you stop being controlled by emotions and start mastering them. Welcome to Book Verse. This is the place where we break down the best self-help books. We take big ideas and turn them into clear lessons. Lessons you can use in your daily life. If you want to grow, if you want to change, if you want a better life, then you are in the right place. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us till the end. Now let's begin. We are going to cover this book chapter by chapter. Chapter 1. Stop letting your mind lead you. Your mind is loud. Your mind is fast. Your mind talks all day. But your mind is not a leader. That is the first truth you must accept. And that truth will change your life. Your mind is a generator. It generates thoughts. It generates fears. It generates memories. It generates fake emergencies. Most of them are useless. Yet you follow them. Every day. You wake up. Your mind speaks. And you obey. That is the problem. Your mind was never meant to lead. It was meant to serve. When your mind leads, your life reacts. When you lead, your mind follows. That is the key. Right now, your mind is trained to react. Not to think. Not to decide. But to react. A message comes in. You react. A comment hits your ego. You react. Someone doubts you. You react. And every reaction costs you control. You have a choice. But you do not see it yet. Because the mind hides it. The mind makes everything feel urgent. Everything feels personal. Everything feels dangerous. But most things are none of those. Your mind is emotional. It is not logical. It wants comfort. It wants safety. It wants approval. It does not want growth. That is why trusting your mind blindly is dangerous. Let me make this clear. Your mind is not evil. Your mind is not broken. It is simply untrained. An untrained mind reacts. A trained mind responds. Big difference. Think about this. Someone criticizes you. Not loudly. Not violently. Just words. Instantly your chest tightens. Your thoughts race. Your emotions spike. Your mind screams. Defend yourself. Explain yourself. Attack back. And you listen. You speak fast. You raise your tone. You say something sharp. Minutes later, silence. Then regret. You replay the moment. You think of better words. You wish you stayed calm. That regret is the price of letting your mind lead. This happens everywhere. At work. At home. Online. In relationships. Not because you are weak, but because you are automatic. Your mind loves automatic behavior. It saves energy. It avoids effort. But automatic behavior destroys discipline. You must understand this clearly. Every reaction trains your mind. Every pause retrains it. That is the battlefield. You do not need their permission to pause. You do not need their permission to think. You do not need their permission to stay silent. You have a choice. That is the key. Most people believe emotions control them. That belief is false. Emotions suggest. You decide. But only if you slow down. Your mind will rush you. That is its nature. Your job is to stop obeying. You do not need to fight your thoughts. You do not need to silence them. You need to stop following them. There is a difference. Imagine your mind like a radio. Always on. Always talking. You do not need to smash the radio. You just stop dancing to every song. You lead. Your mind follows. Say it again. You lead. Your mind follows. That sentence is discipline. Right now, your mind thinks it is in charge. Because you allowed it. Leadership was handed over slowly. One reaction at a time. One emotional decision at a time. One moment of weakness at a time. But leadership can be taken back. Starting now. Here is what you must stop doing. Stop asking your mind how you feel before acting. Stop asking your emotions for permission. Feelings are weather. Leadership is direction. You do not ask the weather how to drive. You drive anyway. This is not about suppressing emotion. This is about placing emotion in the right seat. Emotion sits in the passenger seat. You hold the wheel. That is control. Now listen carefully. The mind lies best when you are tired. The mind lies loudest when you are stressed. The mind lies fastest when you feel disrespected. That is when discipline matters most. That is when you must slow everything down. One breath. One pause. One moment of space. That pause is power. Without pause, there is no control. Without control, there is regret. You have experienced this. Everyone has. That moment after reacting. When the body calms. And the truth appears. You think, why did I say that? Why did I react? Why did I give them that power? That moment is proof. Proof that you were not thinking earlier. Proof that your mind was driving. You do not need to be smarter. You need to be calmer. It is not about intelligence. It is about discipline. Say it clearly. It is not about emotion. It is about discipline. That sentence will repeat throughout this book. Because it is true. Your mind loves drama. Drama feels important. Drama feels alive. But discipline feels boring. And boring builds control. This is why calm people win. Not because they feel less. But because they obey less. They do not chase every thought. They do not answer every trigger. They choose. You have a choice. That is the key. Here is a simple rule you will use from now on. If a thought makes you rush, pause. If a thought makes you angry, pause. If a thought demands instant action, pause. Urgency is the language of the untrained mind. Leadership is calm. Your mind will resist this. It will say you are weak. It will say you are losing. It will say you must act now. That is a lie. Silence is not weakness. Pause is not loss. Control is power. You do not need their permission to stay calm. You do not need their permission to think. You do not need their permission to lead yourself. Say it again. You do not need their permission. The moment you stop reacting, something changes. You feel space. You feel clarity. That space is where choice lives. Without space, there is no choice. Only impulse. Your mind has trained you to live in impulse. This book will retrain you to live in choice. That is transformation. From this moment forward, you will practice one thing. You will notice the urge. And you will not obey it instantly. That is all. You do not need to change your life today. You need to interrupt the pattern. Interrupting patterns builds control. Control builds discipline. Discipline builds calm. This chapter is the foundation. If you miss this, nothing else works. Because emotional control does not begin with emotion. It begins with leadership. You lead. Your mind follows. Say it one last time. Slowly, clearly. You lead. Your mind follows. You are not here to silence your mind. You are here to command it. You mastered the truth of leadership. Now you must learn how to create distance. Because control is not reaction. Control is separation. You stopped letting your mind lead you. Now, you must learn how to step back before reacting. Chapter 2. Detach before you react. Emotional control does not begin with strength. It begins with distance. Distance from the moment. Distance from the feeling. Distance from the urge. That is the truth. Most people fail emotionally for one reason. They live inside the moment. They feel it. They become it. They explode with it. That is not control. That is surrender. Control begins when you step outside the moment. Not away from life, but away from impulse. You must understand this clearly. You cannot control what you are inside of. You can only control what you can observe. That is the key. Right now, most of your reactions happen too fast. Faster than logic. Faster than wisdom. Someone raises their voice. You raise yours. Someone disrespects you. You attack back. Someone questions you. You explain yourself. Automatic. Predictable. Costly. You have a choice. But only if you create space. Without space, there is no choice. Only reaction. Detachment is not weakness. Detachment is power. Weak people react instantly. Strong people step back. Say that again. Strong people step back. Detachment means this. You feel the emotion, but you do not move with it. You notice anger, but you do not speak from it. You feel fear, but you do not act from it. You observe first. Then you decide. Detach first. React never. That phrase is discipline. Now let us be clear. Detachment does not mean silence forever. It does not mean avoidance. It means timing. It means choosing the moment. Instead of being dragged into it. Think about a heated argument. Voices rise. Words sharpen. Egos flare. The room feels heavy. Your heart beats faster. Your mind looks for weapons. This is the moment most people lose control. Not because they are wrong, but because they are close. Too close. So what do disciplined people do? They pause the conversation. They leave the room. They take space. Not to escape, but to protect clarity. That pause saves respect. That pause saves control. That pause saves regret. You do not need their permission to step away. You do not need their permission to breathe. You do not need their permission to detach. Say it clearly. You do not need their permission. Your mind will resist detachment, because detachment feels like loss. The ego hates space. The ego wants dominance. The ego wants the last word. But emotional control is not about winning moments. It is about winning your life. It is not about pride. It is about discipline. Say it again. It is not about pride. It is about discipline. Most emotional damage happens in seconds. Seconds of uncontrolled speech. Seconds of impulsive action. Detachment protects you from those seconds. Here is a rule you must adopt. If your emotion rises, your distance must increase. More anger. More distance. More fear. More pause. More pressure. More space. That is control. You have been taught to confront instantly, to respond immediately, to prove yourself. That teaching is wrong. Instant response is emotional slavery. Delayed response is leadership. Leadership does not rush. Leadership observes. When you detach, something powerful happens. The body calms. The breath slows. The mind clears. Then logic enters. Logic cannot enter chaos. Logic needs space. That is why detachment is non-negotiable. You cannot think clearly inside emotional fire. You step out first. Then you choose. That is the formula. Detach first. React never. Say it again. Detach first. React never. This chapter is not theory. This is instruction. So here is what you will do. Next time tension rises, you will stop speaking. You will slow your breath. You will ground your body. Feet on the floor. Eyes steady. Jaw relaxed. These are not small actions. They are control signals. Your nervous system listens to behavior, not words. When you slow the body, the mind follows. That is the key. Most people try to think calm. That does not work. You act calm. Then the mind adjusts. It is not about emotion. It is about discipline. Remember that line. You will hear it again. Now let us talk about observation. Detachment creates observation. You watch the situation. You watch the person. You watch yourself. You notice patterns. You notice tone. You notice triggers. You notice manipulation. This awareness is impossible when reacting. Reactive people are blind. Detached people see everything. That is why calm people win arguments without speaking. That is why disciplined people control rooms silently. They are not inside the chaos. They are above it. You can be too, but only if you stop chasing reactions. You have a choice. That is the key. Detachment is a skill, and skills require practice. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. Your body will want to act. Your ego will want to speak. Do not obey. Discomfort is not danger. Silence is not weakness. Every time you detach, you train control. Every time you react, you train chaos. Choose wisely. There will be moments when people push harder, because they want your reaction. Do not give it. Your calm frustrates manipulators. Your silence exposes insecurity. You do not need to explain yourself. You do not need to defend yourself. You do not need their permission. Say it again. You do not need their permission. Detachment does not mean you accept disrespect. It means you choose when to address it. On your terms. With clarity. Without emotion. That is power. Most people think power is loud. It is not. Power is controlled. Controlled speech. Controlled movement. Controlled response. This chapter is teaching you separation. Separation between stimulus and response. That gap is where your freedom lives. Without that gap, you are controlled. With that gap, you decide. That is emotional control. And emotional control is not passive. It is strategic. You pull back to see clearly. Then you act cleanly. That is the difference. Remember this rule. If you feel rushed, do nothing. If you feel provoked, step back. If you feel emotional, detach. You can always respond later. You can never undo a reaction. That sentence matters. You can always respond later. You can never undo a reaction. Let that sink in. This chapter builds on the first truth. You lead. Your mind follows. Now you add a second skill. You step back before you act. Leadership requires distance. Control requires separation. You mastered not letting your mind lead. Now you are learning how to step outside emotion. But detachment alone is not enough. Because emotions have another trick. They lie. They exaggerate. They distort. And that is what we face next. You learn to step back. Now you must learn to question what you feel. Because not every emotion tells the truth. You detached before reacting. Now you must understand deception. Chapter 3. Your emotions lie. Know the difference. Your emotions feel real. They feel powerful. They feel urgent. But they are not facts. That truth alone can save your life. Most people believe emotions tell the truth. That belief controls them. Emotions exaggerate danger. Emotions amplify fear. Emotions distort reality. That is what they do. You must understand this clearly. Feeling something does not make it true. Feeling something does not make it real. Feelings are signals, not commands. That is the key. Right now, your emotions speak loudly. They speak fast. They speak with confidence. But confidence does not mean accuracy. Your emotions evolved for survival, not for logic, not for modern life. They were designed to protect you from threats, not to guide your career, not to guide your relationships. So when emotions speak today, they often lie, not on purpose, but by design. You have a choice, but only if you learn the difference. Difference between feeling, in fact, difference between emotion and reality. Most people never learn this, so they suffer. Let us talk about anxiety. Anxiety feels dangerous. Anxiety feels urgent. Anxiety feels real. Your heart races. Your chest tightens. Your thoughts spiral. Your mind says, everyone is judging you. Everyone is watching you. You are failing. But look around. No one is staring. No one is thinking about you. No one is tracking your mistakes. Anxiety lied. The body reacted. The emotion screamed. Reality stayed calm. That is the pattern. Fear lies. Anger lies. Insecurity lies. They all exaggerate. Fear says, you will fail. You will be embarrassed. You will be rejected. Anger says, you were disrespected. You must respond now. You must defend yourself. Insecurity says, you are not enough. You are behind. You are losing. But feelings are not facts. Say that again. Feelings are not facts. This sentence must become automatic. Because without this belief, emotional control is impossible. Your emotions will always feel convincing. Boys, they speak through the body, not through logic. Sweat, tension, heartbeat. The body reacts first. Then the mind creates a story. That story feels real, but it is often false. You must learn to question it. Here's the rule. When emotion rises, truth must wait. When feeling spikes, logic must enter. This is not suppression. This is inspection. You are not ignoring emotion. You are investigating it. That is discipline. Say it clearly. It is not about emotion. It is about discipline. Most people do the opposite. They feel first. They act second. They think last. That order destroys control. The correct order is simple. First, question. Then decide. That pause matters. Without pause, emotion becomes action. And action creates consequences. Consequences you must live with. You have a choice. That is the key. Here is your new mantra. Feel it. Do not follow it. Say it again. Feel it. Do not follow it. This mantra will protect you. Every time emotion rises, you repeat it. Feel it. Do not follow it. Let us apply this to real life. Someone ignores your message. Emotion says, they do not respect you. They do not care. That is a lie. Maybe they are busy. Maybe they forgot. Maybe it has nothing to do with you. Emotion created a story. You believed it. And you reacted. That reaction damages trust. Another example. Someone criticizes your work. Emotion says, you are attacked. You are not good enough. That is a lie. Feedback is information, not a threat. But emotion turns information into danger. That is why you must slow down. Emotions are loud. Truth is quiet. If you listen too fast, you will miss truth. That is the key. Your emotions want certainty. They want quick answers. They want instant relief. But emotional relief creates long-term pain. Discipline feels uncomfortable now, but it saves you later. You must choose. You have a choice. Most emotional suffering is not caused by events. It is caused by interpretation. What you tell yourself about what happened. That story fuels emotion. Change the story. The emotion changes. But first, you must stop trusting emotion blindly. Trust must be earned. Emotion has not earned your trust yet. It lies too often. Fear told you not to try. But growth happened when you tried. Anger told you to speak. But peace came when you stayed quiet. Insecurity told you to hide. But strength came when you showed up. Look back. Emotion was wrong many times. So why trust it now? That question matters. You are not broken. Your system is just untrained. Training begins with awareness. When emotion appears, you label it. This is fear. This is anger. This is insecurity. Labeling creates distance. Distance creates control. That is the key. You are not saying the emotion disappears. You are saying it does not lead. Remember chapter 1. You lead. Your mind follows. Now you add another layer. You observe. Your emotions wait. That is leadership. Here is a simple practice. When emotion spikes, ask one question. Is this a fact? Or is this a feeling? Say it slowly. Is this a fact? Or is this a feeling? Most of the time, it is a feeling. And feelings change. Facts do not. You do not build decisions on weather. You build on ground. Emotion is weather. Discipline is ground. Say it again. Emotion is weather. Discipline is ground. That sentence will guide you. Now let us talk about responsibility. Once you know emotions lie, you cannot pretend anymore. You cannot say, I reacted because I felt it. That excuse is gone. Awareness creates responsibility. You now know better. And knowing better means acting better. You have a choice. That is the key. You do not need their permission to feel calm. You do not need their permission to question emotion. You do not need their permission to pause. Your emotions do not own you. You own your response. That is power. Some emotions will resist this training. Especially anger. Anger feels righteous. Anger feels justified. But anger distorts the most. Anger narrows vision. Anger speeds speech. Anger destroys patience. That is why anger feels strong, but makes you weak. True strength is restraint. Restraint is discipline. It is not about emotion. It is about discipline. Say it again. It is not about emotion. It is about discipline. You will feel emotions. That will never stop. The goal is not numbness. The goal is mastery. Mastery means this. Emotion speaks. You listen. You decide. Not emotion decides. That is control. This chapter teaches discernment. Discernment between what you feel and what is real. Between impulse and intention. Between reaction and response. Without this skill, nothing else works. Because you will always be pulled by feelings. With the skill, you stand steady. You stop chasing every thought. You stop believing every fear. You stop obeying every urge. That is freedom. You felt emotion. You did not follow it. That is growth. You learned emotions lie. Now you must learn the next step. Because knowing emotion lies is not enough. You must create space before emotion acts. That space is built through one skill. The pause. You questioned emotion. Now you must interrupt it. Chapter 4. Train the pause. The first skill of control. Emotional control starts with one skill. Not strength. Not intelligence. Not confidence. The pause. The pause is your power. Without pause, you react. With pause, you choose. That is the difference between chaos and control. Most people live without pause. They move fast. They speak fast. They react fast. Fast feels strong. But fast is weak. Fast gives control away. Slow takes control back. That is the key. The pause is not natural. It must be trained. Your body wants speed. Your ego wants response. Your emotion wants release. The pause blocks all three. That is why it feels uncomfortable. Discomfort is the price of control. You have a choice. That is the key. Right now, your reactions are automatic. They happen before thinking. They happen before logic. A message arrives. You open it instantly. A rude line appears. Your fingers move. A tone feels disrespectful. Your mouth opens. That speed is the enemy. Speed removes choice. The pause creates space. Space creates power. Say it again. Space creates power. The pause is not silence. It is not weakness. It is a gap. A gap between trigger and response. That gap is where discipline lives. Without that gap, emotion controls you. With that gap, you control yourself. That is emotional control. Now let us talk about training. The pause is a skill. Skills require repetition. You will not master it once. You will practice it daily. Small moments, real moments. Let us start simple. You receive a message. It feels disrespectful. Your heart speeds up. Your chest tightens. Old behavior says, reply now. Defend yourself. Correct them. New behavior says, one breath. No typing. No speaking. Just breathing. That breath interrupts the pattern. That breath sends a signal. The signal says, I am in control. The body listens. When the body slows, the mind follows. That is the key. Most people try to calm the mind first. That does not work. The body leads. The mind adjusts. So you pause physically. You stop moving. You slow breathing. You relax the jaw. These are commands. Your nervous system obeys action, not intention. This is not theory. This is biology. The pause retrains your system. Each pause builds strength. Each reaction builds weakness. You choose which one grows. You have a choice. The pause feels small, but it changes everything. Because emotion cannot survive delay. Emotion needs speed. Anger needs instant release. Fear needs instant escape. Insecurity needs instant proof. Delay removes fuel. The pause starves emotion. That is power. Say the anchor line. The pause is your power. Say it again. The pause is your power. You will repeat this often. Because repetition builds discipline. Now understand this clearly. The pause does not mean you never respond. It means you respond later. From control. Later with clarity. Later with calm. Later with strength. You can always respond later. You can never undo a reaction. That sentence matters. Most damage is done in seconds. Seconds without pause. Words said. Messages sent. Decisions made. All because there was no pause. The pause saves you from yourself. You do not need their permission to pause. You do not need their permission to wait. You do not need their permission to think. Say it clearly. You do not need their permission. People will pressure you. They will push for response. They will demand reaction. That pressure is a test. Do not fail it. Silence under pressure is strength. The pause confuses aggressive people. It exposes emotional people. Because they need your reaction. Do not give it. You are not here to entertain emotions. Yours or theirs. You are here to lead. Leadership pauses. Now let us go deeper. The pause is not only external, it is internal. Thoughts rush to. Images flash. Stories form. You must pause internally as well. When a thought appears, you do not chase it. You notice it. You let it pass. That is mental pause. That pause protects focus. Without mental pause, you spiral. You overthink. You catastrophize. You assume. That assumption creates emotion. Pause breaks the chain. Trigger. That is the sequence. Trigger. No pause. Reaction. That is the old pattern. You are here to break patterns. That is transformation. Here is a daily drill. When something irritates you, count 3 breaths. Not fast. Not forced. Slow. Breath in. Breath out. 3 times. That is all. This small act changes chemistry. Heart rate drops. Muscles relax. Vision widens. Then logic returns. Logic cannot exist in rush. That is the key. The pause creates access to logic. Logic creates better outcomes. Better outcomes build confidence. Confidence reinforces control. All from one pause. This is why it is the first skill. Without pause, no other skill works. You cannot detach without pause. You cannot question emotion without pause. You cannot choose discipline without pause. The pause is the gateway. Say it again. The pause is the gateway. Most people skip this skill. They want advanced techniques, but they cannot control 1 second. 1 second of pause. Master 1 second, and your life changes. You have a choice. Every moment gives you one. React or pause. 1 destroys control. 1 builds it. Choose wisely. Now understand resistance. Your mind will say, pausing is risky. Pausing makes me weak. That is a lie. Pausing makes you unpredictable. Pausing makes you dangerous. Pausing makes you calm. Calm people win. Not because they are louder, but because they are clearer. Clarity beats chaos. That is the key. You will feel discomfort at first. Your body will itch to react. That itch is training. Do not scratch it. Sit with it. Discomfort fades. Control grows. This is how discipline is built. Not by motivation, by repetition. Pause today. Pause tomorrow. Pause again. Soon it becomes automatic. Automatic calm. That is mastery. You are not removing emotion. You are placing it on delay. Delayed emotion loses control. Immediate emotion dominates. Delay is power. Say it clearly. Delay is power. The pause works everywhere. In arguments. In messages. In decisions. In stress. Before speaking. Before sending. Before committing. That single habit separates leaders from reactors. You are becoming a leader. You are training control. You are building emotional discipline. But pause alone is not enough. After pause comes choice. And choice requires direction. Because if you pause, but choose wrong, control is lost again. So next, you must learn how to choose logic over feeling. You train the pause. Now you must train priority. You created space. Now you must fill it wisely. That is the next level. Chapter 5. Do not respond to internal noise. Your mind talks all day. Most of it is noise. Random thoughts. Old memories. Fake warnings. That noise feels important. But it is not. Most thoughts are background noise. They are not truth. They are not guidance. They are survival signals. That is the key. Your mind was built to protect you, not to help you grow. Protection avoids discomfort. Growth requires discomfort. So when discomfort appears, the mind panics. It creates noise. Thoughts like, stop, quit, this is too much. But nothing is wrong. You are just uncomfortable. There is a big difference. Discomfort is not danger. Noise pretends it is. You must learn this skill. Do not respond to internal noise. Say it clearly. Do not respond to internal noise. Most people obey their thoughts instantly. They hear, they believe, they act. That obedience keeps them small. You have a choice. That is the key. Thoughts appear automatically. Responses are optional. This is where discipline begins. Your mind will say, delay. But commitment says, finish, focus, continue. Noise wants comfort. Commitment wants progress. It is not about motivation. It is about discipline. Say it again. It is not about motivation. It is about discipline. Now listen carefully. Your thoughts sound like you, but they are not you. They use your voice, your memories, your fears. That makes them convincing. But convincing does not mean correct. Most thoughts are reactions, not decisions. They react to stress. They react to effort. They react to fear. That is noise. You do not negotiate with noise. You ignore it. Ignore the noise. Follow the commitment. Say it again. Ignore the noise. Follow the commitment. Let us talk about quitting. Your mind loves quitting. Quitting removes discomfort. So the moment effort appears, the mind suggests escape. This workout is too hard. This work is pointless. This path is not for you. That is noise. The body is tired. The mind interprets danger. But tired does not mean broken. Slow does not mean failing. Noise exaggerates. You must learn to recognize it. Here is a clear rule. If a thought appears during effort, question it. If a thought appears during discomfort, doubt it. Because growth always feels uncomfortable. That is the price. People who grow ignore noise. People who stay stuck obey it. You choose. You have a choice. Internal noise feels urgent. It demands attention. But urgency is a trick. Noise wants control. Do not give it. You do not need their permission. Not from people. Not from thoughts. Say it clearly. You do not need their permission. Thoughts will insult you. They will doubt you. They will scare you. That does not mean they are right. Imagine every thought was true. You would never succeed. You would quit everything. You would avoid all risk. That is not life. That is fear management. You are here to lead, not to hide. Leadership ignores noise. Now let us break this down practically. A thought appears. I cannot do this. You pause. You ask, is this noise? Or is this fact? Most of the time, it is noise. Because if it was fact, you would have evidence. Pain is not evidence. Fear is not evidence. Doubt is not evidence. They are signals, not instructions. That is the key. Here is another rule. If a thought makes you smaller, question it. If a thought avoids effort, ignore it. If a thought delays action, distrust it. Noise always moves you away from growth. Commitment moves you forward. Ignore the noise. Follow the commitment. Repeat it again. Ignore the noise. Follow the commitment. This applies everywhere. At work, in health, in relationships, in self-improvement. You plan to wake early. The alarm rings. Noise says, sleep more. Tomorrow is better. Commitment says, get up. That moment decides your future. One obeys noise. One builds discipline. You choose. You have a choice. Most people wait for silence. It never comes. Noise never stops. You just get stronger. The goal is not silence. The goal is non-response. Let the noise speak. You keep moving. That is strength. Now understand this deeply. Responding to noise trains it. Ignoring noise weakens it. Each time you obey a thought, you make it louder. Each time you ignore it, you make it weaker. This is training. Mental training. Noise does not disappear overnight, but it loses power. Slowly, quietly, consistently. This is discipline. Not emotion. Not motivation. Discipline. Say it again. It is not about feeling. It is about discipline. The mind will test you, especially when tired. Fatigue amplifies noise. So you must be strict then. When tired, do not decide. When emotional, do not decide. You decide when calm. You commit in advance. Commitment protects you from noise. That is why routines work. Routine removes negotiation. Noise loves negotiation. Do not negotiate. Decide once. Execute daily. That is control. People who succeed do not think more. They obey less. They do not argue with thoughts. They do not debate fear. They move. Movement silences noise. Action kills doubt. But only if you act without permission. You do not need their permission. Not from people. Not from thoughts. Say it again. You do not need their permission. Your mind will try to sound logical. It will use smart words. Be careful. Noise can sound intelligent. It can say, "This is not the right time. You need more preparation. You should wait." Waiting feels responsible, but often it is fear. Fear in disguise. That is why discipline matters. Discipline acts despite noise. Not blindly, but consistently. You have a goal. You have a commitment. Follow it. Ignore everything else. Ignore the noise. Follow the commitment. Let that sentence guide you. You will feel resistance. That is normal. Resistance means growth is near. Noise increases before breakthrough. That is a pattern. Most people quit there. Do not be most people. You are training control. Control means choosing action, even when the mind complains. That is strength. That is leadership. This chapter is about filtering. Not every thought deserves attention. Not every feeling deserves action. You decide what enters. That decision is power. Without it, you are controlled. With it, you lead. You learn to pause. You learned emotions lie. Now you learn something deeper. Most thoughts are noise. You do not respond to noise. You respond to commitment. This completes another layer of control. But one layer remains. Because after ignoring noise, you must choose direction. And direction requires logic. Not feeling. Not fear. Logic. You learn to ignore noise. Now you must learn to amplify logic. Because control is not empty. It is guided. You ignored the noise. Now you must follow reason. Chapter 6. Make logic louder than feelings. Feelings are loud. Logic is quiet. That is the problem. Most people let the loudest voice lead. That voice is emotion. Emotion shouts. Emotion rushes. Emotion demands action. Logic waits. Logic explains. Logic plans. If you do not train yourself, feelings will always win. That is why control is rare. You must flip the order. Logic leads. Feelings support. Say it again. Logic leads. Feelings support. This chapter is about decision power. Not motivation. Not inspiration. Decision power. Every day, you make hundreds of choices. Most are emotional. Very few are logical. That is why most lives feel chaotic. You react. You regret. You repeat. That cycle ends here. You have a choice. That is the key. Feelings are information. They are not commands. They tell you how you feel. They do not tell you what to do. But most people confuse this. They feel tired, so they stop. They feel bored, so they quit. They feel scared, so they avoid. That is emotional leadership. It destroys progress. Logic asks better questions. What is the goal? What is the cost? What is the long-term effect? Feelings never ask these questions. They ask only one thing. How do I feel right now? That is short-sighted. That is dangerous. If you want control, you must delay emotion. You must consult logic first. This is a skill, not talent, not luck. Let us make this practical. You want to eat healthy. You feel craving. Feeling says, no, you deserve it. Logic says, this slows progress. This creates regret. Which voice do you follow? That moment defines discipline. It is not about food. It is about control. Say it clearly. It is not about pleasure. It is about discipline. Another example. You want to save money. You see something shiny. Feeling says, buy it. It feels good. Logic says, this delays freedom. This adds pressure. Most people obey feeling, then complain about results. That is the pattern. Results follow decisions. Decisions follow leadership. Who leads you? Feeling or logic? You choose. You have a choice. Feelings change hourly. Logic stays stable. Feelings depend on sleep. Logic depends on facts. Feelings exaggerate. Logic balances. That is why logic must lead. This does not mean ignore feelings. It means place them second. Feel them. Then filter them. Remember this line. Logic leads. Feelings support. Say it again. Logic leads. Feelings support. Now understand something important. Emotions are chemical reactions. They rise. They peak. They fall. If you wait, most feelings pass. But actions are permanent. One emotional action can cost years. That is why pause matters. You learn to pause earlier. Now you learn to decide. Pause creates space. Logic fills that space. Without pause, feeling hijacks you. With pause, logic speaks. That is the key. Most people never hear logic because they never pause. They react instantly. Instant reaction is emotional slavery. Delayed response is control. Train this habit. When emotion hits, do nothing. Breathe. Ask one question. What does logic say? Not what feels good. Not what feels easy. What makes sense long term? This one question changes everything. Your brain will resist. It prefers comfort. But resistance is normal. Growth always feels uncomfortable. Remember, discomfort is not danger. It is training. Now let us talk about pleasure. Short-term pleasure is emotional bait. It feels good now. It hurts later. Long-term progress feels hard now. It feels good later. Most people reverse this. They chase pleasure. They avoid effort. Then they wonder why life feels heavy. Life feels heavy when logic is ignored. Logic accepts pain now to avoid pain later. Emotion avoids pain now and multiplies pain later. Choose wisely. You have a choice. This applies to relationships. Feeling says, react, defend. Logic says, listen, respond calmly. One emotional message. can burn years of trust. One logical pause can save everything. That is control. It is not weakness. Calm is power. Say it clearly. Calm is power. People respect control, not reaction. They may provoke you. That is their game. You do not need their permission to stay calm. You do not need their permission to stay disciplined. Say it again. You do not need their permission. Now understand this. Logic is not cold. It is fair. It considers reality. Emotion lies under stress. Emotion says, this will last forever. Logic says, this will pass. Emotion says, everyone is against me. Logic says, this is temporary. That difference saves lives. Many bad decisions happen during emotional storms. Your job is simple. Do not decide in storms. Decide when calm. Execute when emotional. That is discipline. Say it again. Decide when calm. Execute when emotional. This is how professionals live. Athletes, leaders, soldiers. They do not ask how they feel. They ask what is required. That question builds strength. Now let us be clear. Logic must be trained. It is not automatic. You train it by writing goals, by defining standards, by setting rules. Rules protect you from feelings. If you have no rules, feelings rule you. Simple example. I do not quit workouts. When feeling says stop, rule says continue. No debate. That is freedom. Freedom is structure. Chaos is emotional. People confuse this. They think freedom is doing what they feel. That is slavery. True freedom is self-control. Self-control comes from logic. Now repeat the core truth. It is not about feeling. It is about discipline. Say it again. It is not about feeling. It is about discipline. Feelings support. They motivate sometimes. But they never lead. If you wait to feel ready, you will wait forever. Readiness is emotional. Action creates readiness. Logic understands this. Action builds confidence, not thinking. Now here is a powerful exercise. Before any big decision, write 2 columns. Emotion says. Logic says. Be honest. Emotion will be dramatic. Logic will be simple. Then choose logic. Do this enough times, and your life changes. Because consistency beats intensity. Logic creates consistency. Emotion creates chaos. You must pick your leader. This chapter is about maturity. Adults use logic. Children use feelings. If you want growth, you must grow up internally. That means disappointment. That means discomfort. That means saying no to yourself. Self-respect requires self-denial. That is hard, but it works. Say it clearly. Self-respect requires self-denial. Now we prepare to move forward. You learn to pause. You learn to ignore noise. You learn to elevate logic. That builds inner control. But control alone is not enough. Control must be protected. Because words can destroy control. Your own words. Other people's words. So the next skill is silence. You made logic louder than feelings. Now you must make silence stronger than reaction. Chapter 7. Control the story you tell yourself. Every moment, you are telling a story. Not out loud. Inside your head. That story decides everything. Your energy. Your choices. Your future. Most people never question it. They believe the first story that appears. That is a mistake. Your mind is a narrator, not a judge. It creates meaning, not truth. If you do not control the story controls you. That is the rule. You have a choice. That is the key. The same event can create two outcomes. One person breaks. One person grows. The difference is the story. Pain is neutral. Meaning is not. Meaning decides strength. Example. Something goes wrong. You fail. You feel pressure. Story 1 says, I cannot handle this. Story 2 says, I can handle more than I think. Same event. Different outcome. One creates collapse. One creates growth. That is power. Say the anchor line. Rewrite the story. Rewrite the outcome. Say it again. Rewrite the story. Rewrite the outcome. Your brain listens to repetition. What you repeat becomes belief. What becomes belief becomes behavior. Most people repeat weakness. This is too much. This is unfair. I'm not built for this. Those words shape identity. Identity shapes destiny. That is not motivation. That is psychology. If you want control, you must audit your language. Listen to your inner voice. Is it helping you or harming you? Be honest. Your mind will exaggerate pain. It always does. It speaks in extremes. Boys. Never. Everyone. No one. Those words are red flags. They signal emotional thinking. Logic does not speak like that. Logic is calm. Logic is precise. You must replace emotional language. Not with lies. With strength. Not fake positivity. Control truth. Example. Do not say, I cannot handle this. This is hard, but I can stay present. That changes physiology. Your body relaxes. Your breath slows. That is control. You have a choice. You do not need their permission to change your inner voice. No one hears it but you. Make it work for you. Now understand this. Your mind is built for survival, not growth. It looks for danger. It predicts failure. That kept humans alive. But it limits modern progress. So your mind will lie to keep you comfortable. Comfort is not safety. Comfort is stagnation. Growth requires discomfort. So when your mind says stop, ask one question. Is this danger or discomfort? Most of the time, it is discomfort. And discomfort is training. Change the story. Say this instead. This is training. This is strengthening me. Say it again. This is training. You must speak to yourself like a disciplined coach, not a scared child. A coach gives commands, not complaints. A coach focuses on action, not emotion. Your inner voice must do the same. Now let us go deeper. Stories create identity. If you say, I am anxious, you become anxious. If you say, I feel anxiety, but I am steady, you stay in control. Words matter. Language shapes perception. Perception shapes reality. This is why elite performers train self-talk. They do not wait to feel confident. They speak confidence first. Confidence follows action, not the other way around. Say it clearly. Action creates confidence. Your story must support action. Ask yourself this. Does my inner voice push me forward or pull me back? If it pulls you back, rewrite it. Do not argue. Replace. Example. Old story. I always mess this up. New story. I am learning through reps. Old story. I am behind in life. New story. I am building at my pace. That is not denial. That is control. Control of focus. Now understand repetition. One positive thought will not change you. Consistency will. You must repeat the new story until it feels normal. That takes discipline. It feels fake at first. That is fine. Everything feels fake before it becomes familiar. Your old story felt real because you repeated it for years. Replace it the same way. Daily. Relentless. Say the anchor again. Rewrite the story. Rewrite the outcome. Now let us address pressure. Pressure exposes stories. Under stress, your real narrative appears. Train under pressure. When tired, when annoyed, when bored, that is where control is built. When you want to quit, listen to the words. Then interrupt them. Say this: I do not quit when tired. I rest later. That is discipline. Say it again. I do not quit when tired. This is not about ego. It is about reliability. You must trust yourself. Trust is built by keeping promises, even internal ones. If your inner voice lies, you stop trusting yourself. Then motivation dies. Honest strength builds trust. Now remember, you are not your thoughts. You hear them. You choose them. Most people forget this. They think thoughts are facts. They are not. They are suggestions. You accept them or reject them. You have a choice. That is the key. Imagine your mind as a radio. Many channels. Many voices. You choose the station. Choose the one that builds you, not the one that keeps you small. Now, practical rule. Never speak to yourself in a way you would not coach. If you would not say it, do not think it. Replace it. Firmly. Calmly. This takes reps. But reps create identity. Identity creates destiny. Now connect this to emotional control. Uncontrolled emotions come from uncontrolled stories. Change the story, and emotion follows. Emotion follows meaning. Change meaning. Change feeling. This is how you stay calm. Not by fighting emotion, by rewriting interpretation. That is high-level control. Say it again. Rewrite the story. Rewrite the outcome. Now prepare for the next skill. Stories are internal. Silence is external. Your story can be strong, but words can still leak power. You must learn restraint, because silence protects control. You controlled the story you tell yourself. Now you must control the words you release. Chapter 8. Calm is a skill, not a personality. Most people believe a lie. They think calm is natural. They think calm is genetic. They think calm is luck. That is false. Calm is trained. Say it clearly. Calm is trained. No one is born calm. People become calm. Through repetition. Through exposure. Through discipline. That is the truth. You have a choice. That is the key. Look at calm people. They do not panic. They do not rush. They do not explode. Not because they feel nothing, but because they trained response. Their nervous system learned control. Your nervous system can do the same. Calm is not absence of stress. Calm is mastery inside stress. Say it again. Calm is mastery. Stress is normal. Pressure is normal. Reaction is optional. That is power. Athletes understand this. They train under pressure. They repeat movements. They simulate chaos. When the moment arrives, their body stays steady, not because the moment is easy, because it is familiar. Familiarity kills panic. Your nervous system reacts to what feels new. Train it, and fear drops. That is science. Your body learns patterns. If every challenge ends in panic, your body expects panic. If every challenge ends in control, your body expects calm. Expectation shapes reaction. You must practice calm before you need it. That is discipline. Say it again. Calm is trained. Calm is earned. Most people wait. Sit. I will be calm. When life calms down, that never happens. Life stays unpredictable. So waiting is weakness. Training is strength. You must practice calm during small moments. Traffic, delays, criticism, mistakes. These are training grounds. Do not waste them. Every reaction is a rep. Every pause is a rep. Every breath is a rep. That is how calm is built. You have a choice. React or train. Now let us talk about the body. Calm is physical. Your breathing, your posture, your muscle tension. Emotion lives in the body. Control the body, and emotion follows. Start with breath. Slow breath tells the brain, we are safe. Fast breath tells the brain, we are under attack. Most people breathe wrong. When stressed, they speed up. That feeds panic. You must slow down. One deep breath. In through nose. Out through mouth. Long exhale. That activates calm. Do this often. Not once. Not sometimes. Daily. That is training. Say it again. Calm is trained. Next, posture. When you collapse, your mind collapses. Stand straight. Sit upright. Your body sends signals. Strong posture equals stability. Weak posture equals fear. Change posture. Change state. This is not theory. It is biology. Now let us talk about exposure. You do not become calm by avoiding stress. You become fragile. Avoidance teaches fear. Exposure teaches strength. Face pressure in small doses. Speak when nervous. Lead when unsure. Stay quiet when angry. Each time you survive, your system adapts. Fear drops. Calm increases. That is how athletes train. They do not avoid competition. They simulate it. You must simulate pressure. Do not hide from discomfort. Use it. Discomfort is training. Say it clearly. Discomfort is training. Now understand this. Calm does not mean passive. Calm is alert. Calm is ready. Panic clouds thinking. Calm sharpens it. If you want clear decisions, you need calm. Logic needs calm space. That is why emotional control matters. Calm creates space. Space creates choice. You have a choice. That is the key. People will test you. They will provoke. They will rush you. They will pressure you. That is life. You do not need their permission to stay calm. Say it again. You do not need their permission. Staying calm is not weak. It is intimidating. People expect reaction. When you do not react, you control the room. Silence plus calm is dominance. Now let us address repetition. One calm moment does not rewire you. Consistency does. You must practice daily. Morning, midday, night. In small ways. Pause before replying. Breathe before reacting. Slow your movements. Move slower than emotion. Speed belongs to panic. Slowness belongs to control. Say it again. Slow is strong. Now understand identity. If you say, I am not a calm person, you block growth. That is a story. Change it. I am training calm. That keeps the door open. Identity follows behavior. Act calm enough times, and identity changes. You are not fixed. You are trained. Now connect calm to discipline. It is not about personality. It is about discipline. Say it clearly. It is not about personality. It is about discipline. Discipline means repetition. Even when you fail, you will lose control sometimes. That is normal. Do not quit. Review. Adjust. Repeat. Failure is feedback. Feedback builds skill. Now a practical rule. When stress spikes, Lower volume inside. Speak less. Move slower. Breathe deeper. These 3 actions signal control. Practice them daily. Calm becomes default. Not forced. Not fake. Say the key phrase again. Calm is trained. Calm is earned. Now understand the long game. Calm protects health. Calm protects decisions. Calm protects relationships. Most damage happens during emotional spikes. One calm pause can save years. That is power. Now prepare for the next step. Calm is internal. Discipline must become visible. Because calm without action is wasted potential. You trained calm. Now you must protect energy. Energy is limited. Where you place it defines your future. You trained calm inside chaos. Now let us talk about focus. Chapter 9. Pressure tests your discipline. Pressure changes nothing. Pressure reveals everything. Say it again. Pressure reveals everything. Many people believe pressure builds character. That is wrong. Pressure exposes character. It shows what was trained or what was neglected. When stress hits, you do not rise. You fall to your level of discipline. That is the truth. You have a choice. That is the key. Look at people under pressure. Some stay calm. Some fall apart. Same pressure. Different outcome. The difference is preparation. Not talent. Not luck. Discipline. Say the core line. Pressure does not break you. Your lack of discipline does. Say it again. Pressure does not break you. Pressure is neutral. It does not care about feelings. It does not care about excuses. It simply applies force. If structure exists, it holds. If structure is weak, it collapses. That is how pressure works. Deadlines, conflict, fatigue, responsibility. These do not change you. They expose you. If you lose control under stress, that means control was never built. That may sound harsh, but harsh truth creates growth. Soft lies create weakness. You do not need comfort. You need clarity. Say it clearly. Pressure reveals discipline. Now consider this example. A deadline approaches. Time is short. One person stays focused. One person panics. But the calm person trained habits. The panicked person relied on mood. Mood disappears under pressure. Habits remain. That is why discipline matters. Discipline is behavior without emotion. It is action without motivation. If you wait to feel ready, pressure will crush you. If you train daily, pressure becomes routine. Routine kills fear. Say it again. Routine kills fear. Now let us be honest. Most people avoid discipline. I will start later. I will fix it when needed. Pressure proves them wrong. You cannot build strength during the test. Training happens before. Pressure is the exam. You either studied or you did not. No excuses work. You have a choice. Train now or panic later. That is the deal. Now let us break this down. Discipline is built in boring moments. Waking up on time. Doing the task. Finishing what you start. These moments feel small. They are not. When pressure arrives, stacks decide survival. If you skip reps, pressure collects debt. Debt always comes due. Say it clearly. Discipline is prepaid strength. Pressure collects payment. That is the key. People who fail under pressure often say the same thing. I was overwhelmed. But you were unprepared. Overwhelm is lack of structure. Structure creates calm. Now remember this. Pressure is unavoidable. Life guarantees it. So avoiding pressure is impossible. Preparing for pressure is mandatory. That means routines. That means standards. That means rules. Rules remove debate. Debate wastes energy. Under pressure, there is no time to negotiate. You act on training. Now apply this to emotions. When stress rises, emotion spikes. If you trained calm, you respond. If you did not, you react. Reaction is emotional. Response is disciplined. Say it again. Reaction is emotional. Response is disciplined. Pressure shows the difference. This is why earlier chapters matter. Because logic, story, all of it is preparation. Pressure ties it together. Now let us talk about responsibility. Pressure increases with responsibility. More goals, more people, more stakes. If you want growth, pressure increases. So wishing for less pressure is wishing for less life. Strong people want pressure, not because it feels good, because it proves readiness. They trust their discipline. Trust removes fear. Fear comes from doubt. Doubt comes from inconsistency. Inconsistency kills confidence. So if you want confidence, build discipline, not feelings. Say it clearly. Confidence comes from discipline. Now understand this. Pressure is honest. It does not flatter you. It does not lie. It shows the truth. If that truth hurts, pain teaches. Use it. Do not avoid it. Do not numb it. Learn from it. Ask this question. What failed under pressure? Was it focus? Was it patience? Was it preparation? Then fix that. Pressure gives feedback. Smart people listen. Weak people complain. You choose. You have a choice. Now a practical rule. If you want to pass pressure tests, train harder than needed. Do more reps. Set higher standards. Then pressure feels lighter. Pressure feels heavy only when discipline is light. Say the core line again. Pressure does not break you. Your lack of discipline does. Now connect this to control. Emotional control is tested under pressure. Anyone can stay calm when life is easy. Control matters when it is hard. That is when identity is revealed. You are not who you say you are. You are who you are under pressure. Remember that. Now prepare for the next step. Pressure reveals discipline. But discipline needs direction. Effort without direction leads to burnout. You must know where energy goes. So next, we talk about focus. Because scattered discipline is wasted strength. You faced pressure. You saw the truth. Now learn to aim your discipline. Chapter 10. Self-mastery begins with self-distance. Most people confuse themselves with their thoughts. They think every thought is truth. Every feeling is fact. Every reaction is permanent. That is the trap. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer. Say it again. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer. This is the foundation of self-mastery. If you react to every thought, you are a slave to your mind. Your mind is not neutral. It is survival-based. It generates noise, fear, doubt, and distraction. If you do not create distance, you follow every impulse. You chase every emotion. You amplify every fear. You have a choice. That is the key. Creating space between you and your mind is the first act of power. Call it self-distance. Call it observation. Call it awareness. The label does not matter. The practice does. Example, anxiety spikes. Heart races. Mind screams. You feel trapped. Most people obey the feeling. They panic. They freeze. They act irrationally. The self-master says something different. They label the thought. They recognize the emotion. They pause. They say, "This is anxiety talking. This is fear talking. This is not me." Instant distance. Instant choice. Instant control. Say the anchor again. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer. Repeat it in your mind. Repeat it out loud. Repeat it before action. Now, why does this matter? Every decision you make, every action you take, depends on perception. Perception is filtered by thought. Unfiltered thought is chaos. Filtered thought is clarity. You have the power to filter. That is self-mastery. Labeling thoughts is the tool. Do not argue with them. Do not judge them. Do not fight them. Observe. Name them. Decide your response. Say it again. Observe. Name them. Decide your response. Example, anger rises. You want to lash out. Most people react. They say harsh words. They burn bridges. You pause. You observe. This is frustration speaking. Not me. Not my true self. Distance gives space. Space gives power. Power gives choice. Reaction is optional. Discipline is required. Now understand repetition. Every thought labeled, every pause practiced, strengthens self-mastery. The brain learns the pattern. Impulse slows. Clarity increases. Peace grows. Your inner observer becomes strong. Your mind stops controlling you. This is the core difference between reactive people and self-masters. Reactive people follow every wave. They are tossed by emotion. They regret every day. Self-masters watch the waves. They ride them with purpose. They choose direction. That is control. Now let us apply this to fear. Fear is always first. It screams loudly. It exaggerates danger. It paralyzes action. Most people listen. They stop moving. They shrink. They hide. Self-masters label fear. This is fear speaking. Not reality. Not me. Then they act anyway. Discipline leads. Emotion follows. Say it again. Discipline leads. Emotion follows. Now understand identity. When you identify with your thoughts, you strengthen weakness. When you observe your thoughts, you strengthen mastery. Example, negative thought arises. I cannot handle this. I will fail. Reactive person repeats it, believes it, collapses under stress. Observer says, "This is doubt speaking. Not me." Then acts anyway. Then solves the problem. Then grows stronger. That is transformation. This also applies to habit control. Craving arises. Impulse rises. Reactive person obeys. They overeat. They procrastinate. They quit. Observer labels. This is craving. This is impulse. Then chooses. Then acts with purpose. You see the pattern. Label. Fus. Repeat it constantly. This is not easy at first. Your mind resists. It wants chaos. It wants obedience. Resistance is normal. Resistance is training. Say it again. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer. Now practical rules. Step 1. Notice the thought. Step 2. Name the thought. Step 3. Ask what is true. Step 4. Choose action based on truth. Do not argue with emotion. Do not suppress emotion. Do not ignore emotion. Observe it. Name it. Decide your response. Step 5. Repeat. Every day. Every challenge. Every pressure moment. This is how self-mastery is built. Now let us discuss triggers. Certain events, people, or situations provoke emotion. They do not create new emotion. They reveal existing conditioning. If you react automatically, your conditioning controls you. If you pause, observe, and label, you regain control. You rewrite conditioning. Example, someone criticizes you. Reactive person explodes. Observer notes. This is ego talking. Not me. Then chooses response. Measured. Intentional. Say the anchor again. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer. This applies to long-term growth. Habits, discipline, resilience, all rely on observation. You cannot change what you do not notice. Observation is power. That is why self-distance is the foundation of all mastery. Now let us address repetition and patience. Your first attempts will fail. Your mind will resist. Old patterns will shout. That is normal. That is expected. Consistency beats speed. Repetition builds strength. Patience grows control. Do not quit. Every day you practice. Every moment you pause. Every thought you label. Slowly, imperceptibly, you master yourself. Your mind becomes a tool, not a tyrant. Now understand the final truth. Self-mastery is lifelong. No one achieves perfection. Control is practice, not arrival. The observer never stops watching. The observer never stops learning. The observer never stops choosing. Say it one last time. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer. Now prepare for the next chapter. You learned distance. You learned observation. You built self-mastery internally. Next, we make it visible. Discipline alone is not enough. Control must influence action and energy. Chapter 11. Slow down your inner world. Most people live too fast inside. Thoughts race. Emotions spike. Decisions are impulsive. That is chaos. Emotional chaos begins with mental speed. The faster your mind moves, the more reactive you become. You cannot control what moves too fast. You cannot focus when the brain is racing. You cannot act intentionally when the mind is scattered. You have a choice. That is the key. Slow mind, strong mind. Say it again. Slow mind, strong mind. Now understand this. Your nervous system reacts to speed. Fast thoughts create stress. Fast breath amplifies tension. Fast posture signals panic. Control is impossible at speed. That is why slowing the inner world matters. Example, someone insults you. Thoughts fire instantly. Heart races. Mind wants to react. Most people react. They argue. They lash out. They escalate conflict. The self-master does something different. They pause. They breathe. They slow thought. Label the emotion. This is anger. This is frustration. Not me. Not permanent. Not uncontrollable. Then choose response. Measured. Intentional. Anchor line. Slow mind. Strong mind. Repeat it constantly. Repeat it before action. Repeat it during pressure. Now, why does this work? Speed causes distortion. It exaggerates fear. It amplifies threat. It hides opportunity. Slowing restores perspective. It reveals facts. It clears choice. You see reality more clearly. You see solutions. You see opportunity. Control begins with awareness. Awareness requires slowing. Now practical tools. First, breathing. Slow, deep, intentional breaths. In through nose. Out through mouth. Long exhale. Your nervous system hears it. It interprets it as safety. Calm follows. Second, movement. Walk away. Ground yourself. Physical slowness slows mind. Your brain and body are connected. Slow the body, slow the mind. Third, mental labeling. Every thought, name it. Every emotion, identify it. This separates observer from reaction. This is self-mastery in action. Say it again. Slow mind, strong mind. Now consider repetition. One slow moment does not create strength. You must practice. Again and again. Every day, under stress. Use these techniques. First, breathe, label. Over time, they become default. Reactivity decreases. Control increases. Confidence grows. Now a key truth. Slowing is not weakness. It is strength. It is power. Fast reactions feel strong. They feel urgent. They feel impressive. They are not. They are reckless. Slow response is intentional. It is strategic. It wins silently. Example, business negotiation. Fast, reactive speech leads to mistakes. Slow, deliberate speech creates authority. Example, personal conflict. Fast emotional reaction escalates tension. Slow, calm response diffuses tension. Every aspect of life rewards slowing. Say it again. Slow mind, strong mind. Now understand identity. If you identify as impulsive, you reinforce speed. You reinforce chaos. Change the identity. Call yourself intentional. Call yourself measured. Every decision becomes a training ground. Every reaction becomes practice. Every moment you choose calm. Now apply this to high-pressure situations. Deadline approaches. Stress rises. People panic. The fast react. The slow control. Which group do you want to be in? Anchor again. Slow mind. Strong mind. Practice during small moments. Traffic. Minor irritations. Daily discomfort. These are micro-training sessions. They teach the nervous system. They prepare you for extreme moments. Slowing must become habitual. Not occasional. Not reactive. Habitual. Your inner world sets your outer reality. Fast inner world, chaotic outer life. Slow inner world, controlled outer life. Now repetition and reinforcement. First, label. Breathe. Move deliberately. Pause again. Do not stop. Do not skip steps. Every repetition builds automatic calm. Eventually, you do not think. You act from control. Control becomes second nature. Now a warning. Slowing is uncomfortable at first. Your mind wants speed. Your emotions crave urgency. This is normal. This is expected. This is training. Push through discomfort. Practice more. Repeat until natural. Every great performer, every elite athlete, every master of life trains the skill. Fast mind is common. Controlled mind is rare. Now understand integration. Slowing interacts with all other disciplines. It strengthens pause. It reinforces story control. It enhances emotional control. Slowing allows observation. Observation allows choice. Choice allows mastery. Anchor line once more. Slow mind. Strong mind. Now let us conclude. Control begins internally. Fast mind destroys it. Slow mind preserves it. Slow mind builds it. Every thought labeled. Every emotion paused. Every action deliberate. That is power. Now prepare for the final chapter. You mastered self-distance. You mastered slowing your inner world. We master life externally. We apply control where it counts most. Chapter 12. Act like the person you want to become. Most people wait to become who they want. They think identity comes first, then behavior, then results. That is backward. You must act first. Behavior shapes identity. Identity follows action. Say it again. Act higher. Rise higher. Emotional control becomes natural when your behavior matches your ideal identity. Think about it. The calm person does not wait for calm feelings. The calm person acts calm. They speak calmly. They move calmly. They breathe calmly. The behavior creates the person. The person creates the mindset. The mindset creates the life. You have a choice. That is the key. Now let us break it down. Step 1. Define the person you want to become. Not vague. Not half-hearted. Specific. Calm under pressure. Disciplined in action. Patient with people. Resilient in adversity. Step 2. Act like them now. Not later. Not when motivated. Ask this question constantly. What would the calm version of me do right now? What would the disciplined version of me do right now? What would the strong version of me do right now? Then do it. Even if you do not feel like it. Even if emotions resist. Even if the mind screams otherwise. This is practice. This is training. This is mastery. Anchor line. Act higher. Rise higher. Say it again. Act higher. Rise higher. Now understand repetition. One act does not transform you. One choice does not change identity. You must repeat it. Daily. Consciously. Relentlessly. Every small action stacks. Every repetition reinforces identity. Every decision builds character. Soon you notice a shift. Calm becomes automatic. Discipline feels natural. Strength becomes instinct. This is how transformation happens. Now consider social influence. Most people mirror the crowd. They react to moods. They follow impulses. Acting higher breaks that pattern. Your behavior sets the tone. Others follow or cannot affect you. You do not need approval. You do not need agreement. You do not need permission. Anchor line again. Act higher. Rise higher. Now a practical example. Someone insults you. Your mind screams. Your emotions surge. Most people react. They argue. They attack. They escalate. The person who acts higher pauses. They label the emotion. They breathe. Then they respond with calm. Not weak. Not passive. Strategic. Power flows through behavior. Behavior reinforces identity. Identity guides choice. Now integrate previous lessons. Self-distance. Pausing. Slowing the mind. Controlling story. Logic first. Energy management. All these skills converge here. Action applies them. Action cements them. Do not skip action. Action is the bridge between potential and reality. Example, you want patience. You act impatiently. You reinforce impatience. You want focus. You act distracted. You reinforce chaos. Action without alignment is wasted. Alignment through action builds mastery. Now repetition and reinforcement. Act higher in thought. Act higher in word. Act higher in deed. Every time you do, you rise higher. Every time you resist, you train weakness. Say it again. Act higher. Rise higher. Now let us address identity shifts. Old identity dies slowly. New identity is adopted through behavior. Do not wait for feelings. Do not wait for motivation. Do it anyway. Keep doing it. Identity follows. Example, you want resilience. Face discomfort. Do what is hard. Endure without complaint. You are training a new identity. One that does not break under pressure. One that does not bend to impulse. Anchor line again. Act higher. Rise higher. Now understand internal dialogue. Ask, what would the ideal me do? Then answer truthfully. Then act. Do not rationalize. Do not argue. Do not hesitate. Immediate action strengthens neural pathways. Neural pathways form habits. Habits form character. This is how you become the person you admire. Now let us address consistency. One day of acting higher does not create transformation. 1 week is not enough. 1 month builds momentum. 1 year builds identity. Daily practice compounds. Small, repeated actions create mastery. Consistency is everything. Anchor line again. Act higher. Rise higher. Now consider setbacks. You will fail. You will regress. You will fall. That is normal. That is expected. Do not quit. Do not argue. Do not complain. Get back to action. Return immediately. Anchor the habit. Every reset strengthens discipline. Every reset reinforces identity. Now understand mastery fully. Your behavior is the foundation. Your identity follows behavior. Your emotions align with identity. Your results follow naturally. You cannot skip steps. You cannot cheat the process. You cannot wait for permission. Anchor line once more. Act higher. Rise higher. Now final practical advice. Each morning, visualize your ideal self. Decide how they would think. Decide how they would act. Decide how they would speak. Then embody it. Every decision. Every interaction. Every challenge. Repeat it. Relentlessly. Without pause. Each action accumulates. Each choice compounds. Each repetition becomes automatic. Soon, you notice a new reality. You do not react impulsively. You do not feel controlled by fear. You act from discipline. You act from clarity. You act higher. Now the final truth. Transformation is behavioral. Identity is behavioral. Control is behavioral. You act. You rise. You become. Anchor one last time. Act higher. Rise higher. You have completed the journey. From emotional chaos to calm. From reactive habits to intentional action. From fear-driven impulses to disciplined mastery. Now take this into life. Act every day. Rise every day. Be the person you choose to be. This is self-mastery. This is control. This is power. Outro. Emotional control is not a gift. It is not a personality trait. It is a choice you make every day. You control your reactions. You control your thoughts. You control the story your mind tries to force on you. Every moment you pause before reacting, you win. Every moment you rewrite the narrative, you get stronger. Every moment you stay calm when your mind isn't, you separate yourself from the version of you that used to break, panic, and fall apart. Remember this: your emotions don't define you. Your discipline does. Your responses do. Your decisions do. So starting now, choose control. Choose calm. Choose discipline. And choose to act like the person you want to become, not the person your emotions try to turn you into. Your life will follow your discipline. So take control, starting today.